Hey everyone, me Kevin Paffrath here. Caitlyn Jenner has suggested that she would be absolutely willing to support a moderate, logical candidate with solutions for California. In fact, here's the clip showing essentially Caitlyn Jenner would be entirely willing to endorse me.
So honestly, I don't really care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, a Libertarian, vegetarian. You know, it doesn't make any difference to me. I want solutions. If the Democrats are able to come up with great solutions, I am behind that 100%. Solutions to bring this state back and to give the power of this state back to the people and not to special interests in Gavin Newsom.
Caitlyn Jenner, I am on your website and I'm looking at your solutions. And I have to say, Caitlyn, yes, it's time for change, but maybe it's time to pass the buck to somebody who's willing to provide the real solutions that California needs. I am all for you endorsing me for the next governor of California, just like you said in your Hannity interview. Because let's be real, you have solutions here. Every politician has suggested, let's cut regulations. But what kind of regulations should we focus on? And if we cut regulations, are we sacrificing health and safety and progress in our state? See, for example, I have a very clear plan that proposes the state taking control of all building and safety departments throughout the state of California with minor overlays for design conformity within each city, so we're not changing characters of each city. But guess what that means? Our plan is going to include free and instantaneous building permit access for anyone who would like a building permit with no punitive code enforcement to chase you down because you didn't permit something else before. And 95% of permits will be approved by state licensed, insured, bonded, and folks with workers' comp, licensed individuals like contractors, architects, engineers, and they will have the authority to approve 95% of projects or permittable projects throughout our state. This is an example of making sure that a license actually means something in California, but it gives power to the free market so that California is still licensing folks, making sure that we have competent individuals who are insured, very, very important, and take liability, which they do already with licensure. We have competent individuals approving 95% of projects in our state so we can speed up building and safety so that we don't have thousands to hundreds of thousands of vacant homes throughout our state, while at the same time as having a housing affordability crisis. Why do we have a housing affordability crisis? Because we don't have enough homes. So why are we backlogging the amount of homes that we have available with an antiquated 480 plus different building and safety department, disastrous permitting process? Now, don't get me wrong, the state is still going to be inspecting projects. We're going to audit projects. We are still going to be involved in permitting, but we're going to make things a lot easier to get the ball rolling. This is an example of how you actually cut regulation and let the free market take liability while at the same time giving them the power to provide approvals for many different projects faster. When it comes to adding guest units or building new developments, we're also going to be building those and approving those from a statewide point of view. So that way, if Lennar says we want to build these 10 different single-family homes in this one county, guess what? Lennar can now build those throughout the entire state. This is exactly the kind of cutting regulation that we need so we can go from building a measly 80,000 homes per year in California to building over 500,000 homes per year. So we can finally get ahead of this housing affordability crisis, not by having people leave our state, but by people having another option to find less expensive homes in different, potentially even undeveloped areas of California. Keep in mind, I'm not a big fan of just plowing in more housing infill and increasing density because we already have enough of a traffic problem. But don't get me wrong, I've got a solution for lowering taxes, increasing the efficacy of our roads with optional toll roads, optional, very important, but also tunnels, one-way tunnels that change directions based on the flow of traffic so that we can actually deal with our choke points on, for example, the 405 or LAX or going to San Francisco, whatever. We're going to solve traffic. These are specific solutions, not vague solutions. So yes, Caitlyn Jenner, it is time for change. But let's be real, we need specific change. For example, it's easy to say that you're going to lead the COVID recovery when hopefully COVID is not going to be an issue for the next governor. But I actually agree that I am deathly concerned that Gavin Newsom, when and if COVID 2.0 comes around, knock on wood it doesn't, but when COVID 2.0 or COVID 20 or COVID 21 or whatever comes around, or the people who didn't get vaccinated, which vaccination is a choice, but the people who did not get vaccinated, if there's another outbreak, I fear so horribly that Gavin Newsom is just going to shut down our state again. Let me be clear. I will be very, very specific with my solution. Rather than saying I will do everything I can to protect us from further outbreaks or another Gavin Newsom lockdown, my solution is very clear. Number one, vaccination is a choice. Number two, we're going to have very clear mask education so that if you want to be best protected, you're not going to get misled by believing that a mask you buy off Etsy is going to protect you. Don't get me wrong, I love Etsy, but let's be real. There's a difference between a rag, some rag that you have on, a surgical mask, which might be closer to 40 to 50% effective in a COVID cloud, an N95 ventless respirator, and a P100, which these can vary in efficacy between 85 to 99.9% efficacy against aerosol contagions like COVID. This is the kind of education that our government is responsible for providing. My plan provides specific solutions related to real knowledge. Why has our government not educated us on different masks? Because they'd rather lock things down while going to dinner with lobbyists like Gavin Newsom. But we're also going to focus on making sure that everything can reopen right away by providing simplified rules for ventilation and filtration, HEPA filtration when ventilation is not possible, because we know that a COVID cloud is what is most likely to get us sick. We know this. So why do we need lockdowns when we can actually solve COVID cloud buildups with proper HEPA filtration, which we have plenty of, which is exactly the kind of filtration that airplanes use? Folks, if airplanes can do it, we could do it in our classrooms and our businesses and be open for business without having draconian lockdowns. Addressing the affordable housing and homeless crisis. Folks, I have read your plan here. And yes, Caitlyn Jenner, we will not fix homelessness overnight. But we're also not going to say that we're going to work with local leaders to remove restrictions and revisit any regulation blocking developers, charities, and others interested in building affordable housing. I already have a very, very clear solution for affordable housing. This is not how you build a solution for homelessness. You don't build your way out of solving homelessness. Homelessness is much, much, much more than that. I am sending in the National Guard on day one of my administration to protect and serve every homeless person in California. We are going to provide 3 meals a day, hygiene products, access to showers, bathrooms, security, so that homeless people are no longer beat and raped on the streets of our city, and they're not dying on the streets of our state. At the same time, they're going to provide, National Guard will provide security for those who are visiting areas where there are homeless populations. And at the same time, guess what we're also going to do in the first 60 days? We're going to build 80 emergency facilities capable of housing 2,000 homeless individuals in a wartime style effort, because this is a state of emergency. So we're going to use the power of the National Guard. If they can build, as the Army or other departments in our military, if they can build in Afghanistan under gunfire, we can build in 80 counties in California. It's not that difficult. And we are going to house 168,000 homeless individuals within our first 60 days in office. This is why we got to recall Gavin Newsom, who wants to spend $187,000 for a 5-year plan, spending $187,000 per homeless person, and he only counts 65,000 homeless people, which is a third of how many we actually have. And he wants to spend $187,000 per homeless person to maybe trickle some money into the funnel of disastrous, broken politics that we have in California now. That's nonsense. That's not a plan. That's more of the same. It's just like Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner, I applaud you for saying you're going to try to figure out how to cut regulation and build more housing. But let's be real. Homelessness is much more than just having a home. It's having dignity. It's having compassion shown to you, which is exactly what our National Guard is going to do. Show compassion. Our government's actually going to care for the first time in decades, the same decades that Gavin Newsom has been in office. Our government is going to not just provide food and safety and security. But when we have our facilities built, guess what those are going to include? Detox facilities, mental health facilities in a centralized location, residence facilities, education facilities, along with my future schools plan. So we have segregated options for future schools to be available for folks who can get rehabilitated. Look, not everyone is going to get fully rehabilitated that is homeless now. We know that. But we can do way better than people dying on our streets. And we know we can very likely get 60 to 80% of folks reintegrated into our economy. That's what we need. At the same time, people are fleeing California, and Gavin Newsom's going, people are leaving? Look, our population has been growing with the exception of 1 year. You can't count babies. Babies being born doesn't count because we still have people leaving California who actually make money and contribute to our economy. Babies don't do that. Babies take 18 years to contribute to our economy. Now, don't get me wrong, I love babies. But I'm also very logical here, something that's missing from our government. When we have income earners leaving our state, California loses. And that's what's happening, and the flight has been happening for the last 20 years. We do not need a commission of housing and real estate experts. We need common sense. I'm tired of commissions. We need solutions. We also don't need Jenner's stop to new and higher taxes. I don't want to hear that you're going to stop taxes from going up. I want to hear that you're going to cut taxes, because that's my goal. We're going to fund the government in an entirely different way. We're going to fund the government in a phenomenal and smart and logical way. And we're going to make the first $250,000 of taxation, or of income rather, in California, tax-free for everyone. It's simple. Oh, that's the end of your plan, Caitlyn Jenner. Well, folks, look, this is very simple. What I implore you to do right now is go to meetkevin.com, understand the 20-part plan that I have on my website, but make sure you also support the campaign. Go to donate. Donate to Meet Kevin for governor of California in 2021. And the cool thing about my job as governor is I only get a year before you get to decide on keeping me in office or not again. That's right. If I win this recall election, which I plan on winning, I only get a year. So it's kind of like you get a free trial. Do you want to give somebody else a shot with a real plan for a year? Or do you want more of the same from Gavin Newsom? Folks, vote yes on recall, vote yes on Meet Kevin for governor, and please go to meetkevin.com/donate to support the campaign.